Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to have an amazing, amazing legend on this show. Marc Mawhinney, just personally, has been a big part of my own journey, and over the last couple of years, I've been in his group, the Coaching Jungle, and he's an amazing guy and just gives and gives and gives, so I'm truly honored to have him on my show. Marc Mawhinney is a lifelong entrepreneur who helps coaches get more clients without paid advertising. Ooh, that's a unique spin, right? Everyone's talking about Facebook ads. Marc's going to teach us how to use other methods. He achieves this with his coaching programs, his podcasts, Natural Born Coaches, which I was on, and the Marc Mawhinney Show, his Facebook group, the Coaching Jungle, and his exclusive print newsletter, Secret Coach Club. He's been a speaker at events like Social Media Marketing World, and he frequently makes media appearances and contributes for entrepreneur.com. You can learn more about Marc at naturalborncoaches.com. Marc, are you ready to rock this?
Yeah, let's rock it.
Awesome. He's ready. Cool. You are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marc, and sharing with our audience what you've done to create all the success, multiple shows and podcasts, and being invited to speak everywhere. You're doing a lot of things right, man. Thank you.
So my question, do you get bathroom breaks or what with this marathon? Do you have like a little bottle next to the desk there or something?
It's a marathon, man. Screw bathrooms. We don't need those.
Yeah. Just let it go.
So we have a lot of fun here, and dude, Marc, your humor is so much fun, man. I love your humor, your style of humor, and we're gonna dive right in today because we have a lot to cover. And the first thing that we're gonna cover is based on the topic of today, the mastermind. So, Marc, how has the concept of masterminds helped you or showed up in your life, showed up in your coaching, showed up in your shows? How has that played a role in your own journey to getting to where you are today?
Well, it's interesting because at first glance, you wouldn't think of my podcast as being a mastermind. Most people, when they think of mastermind, think of 5 guys or gals gathered, or maybe 10 or whatever. Or if you go way back in the Henry Ford days, it went like hunting in the woods and stuff like that. Yeah, the businessmen talk about it. But my podcast, actually, I have over 540 interviews with great guests like you. And I think that that's probably the perfect example of a mastermind. Not what you would think of when you think mastermind, but I can't believe that I'm getting paid to do a business where a big part of it's that podcast where I'm talking to all these really smart people, and I'm getting to pick their brain and learn from them. So it's awesome. And then going further, my brother said the same thing. He's a podcast editor. That's what he does with his business. He has some really big guns that he edits shows for. He's like, I get paid to learn from all these great minds every day. So the podcast for me is a mastermind, not the way you'd normally think of it, but I think it's been an important mastermind for me.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I love it. And we do the same thing here at the 12-Hour Marathon. All these guests who come on, it's like we get to co-create the genius and dive in and find out what are the common threads? How do we solve these problems? How do we add value to influencers, visionaries, leaders, people who are coaches? You know, we have a lot of coaches in our audience. How do we add value to these people? And that's like the common outcome for every time a guest comes on. How do we add value, help people take a step in the right direction to become their greatest possible self?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And Marc, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Natural Born Coaches, the Marc Mawhinney Show? Like, you're doing all these amazing things, man. Tell us more about it.
Well, Natural Born Coaches, I started back in 2014. So That was a daily show for the first 300 episodes. And then I got my sanity back and went to weekly. But I'm a sucker for punishment because I launched my solo podcast, the Marc Mawhinney, the very originally named, very creative, the Marc Mawhinney Show back in November. So I'm just addicted to podcasting. But actually, it's interesting because Natural Born Coaches is interviewing successful coaches and hearing how they're growing their businesses and stuff. The Marc Mawhinney Show is solo. It's a chance for me to just rant about whatever I want to do. It's more of a, rather than just coaches, more business, life, things like that. And it allows me to open up a bit more. It's not quite as restrictive as perhaps the interview format is with it. So they're both fun for different reasons, and I'm having a good time with it.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. I love it. And then you also have the Facebook group, the Coaching Jungle. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I started the Facebook group a little over 2 years ago, and it's just really just boomed. We just passed 10,500 people last week. Wow. So it's been crazy. It just sprouted up. So thank you for being a member.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to check it out, it's at coachingjungle.com. But the way that group came about was I had a previous Facebook group for past guests of my podcast, and I had roughly 350 past guests in there. And it was called, again, the very originally named Natural Born Coaches Past Guest Group. And what was happening was all these coaches were requesting to join, not noticing that it said past guests. They just saw coaches and, oh, there's a group for coaches. And I had a copied and pasted answer. I had to keep sending people, I'm sorry, this is only for people who've been on the podcast. All the best. Have a nice life, kind of. And I got thinking, finally, it got through my thick skull that, maybe I should have a group open for everybody. And I shut down that group. So there's an important lesson. Don't get tied into something, even though there's 300 some people, because I want to focus all my efforts into the coaching jungle, which was open to not just coaches. It's aspiring coaches, people interested in coaching. It's not like they have to be coaching right now. And it's much, I took kind of an abundance mindset. Hey, I'm not going to keep it kind of restricted. We're going to open it up, and it's really grown. So that's what happened with the Facebook group. And it's been an interesting experience. I highly recommend Facebook groups for pretty much 99% of online entrepreneurs it'll work for.
Awesome, man. We're going to be diving into that even more. And before that, you shared about what you're working on today and all these things that are going really well in your life. And let's take a trip back down memory lane. I know you got your start in real estate, and that probably wasn't the easiest thing, but you did some really cool things along the journey that positioned you well, that really had you stand out from everyone else. So why don't you share about that journey and what were some of the challenges that you experienced along the way?
Well, I got started in real estate. I was 21, so this was back in 2000. I'm dating myself here. I'm an old man. I turned 40 in June. So,
yes.
And I've got my walker and my cane and stuff safely to the side here. No, I'm 39, but I feel 29. That's what I tell myself.
That's right.
Anyways, I started real estate at 21 years old, getting right when I was finishing university, and I looked about 15 years old. I came across an old business card, and I was looking at it. I looked like I was like 90 pounds. It's like, get this kid a sandwich. I looked right young, no beard back then. It just looked like a kid. So anyways, I got started in real estate and just busted my butt for the first 6 months. And you're right, it wasn't easy because I was at the age where I didn't have a lot of friends that were in a position to buy houses. You're asking people to trust you with their biggest investment, buying or selling a home, and you look like the paper boy instead of the real estate agent. So not the best position. But what I did with it was I ended up slapping a slogan on everything that I did. Roughly 6 months into the business, I said, Marc Mawhinney sells the city. Even though then when I was starting, I wasn't selling much of the city. And I know some people kind of rolled their eyes to go, who's this kid think he is, sells the city? But it was kind of a catchy little thing. It rhymed, and I just plastered it everywhere. This was old school because back in 2000, early 2000s, but I was buying 10,000 postcards a month. Environmentalists are going to hate me. You Californians are like, oh my God, you're Hitler. You're buying all these postcards. Yellow pages, radio ads, TV ads. Oh my God, I was spending a fortune. But what ended up happening, the more my business grew, I kept investing in it more and more. And it got to a point where I couldn't order a pizza in town without they say, what's your name? Marc Mawhinney. Oh, Marc Mawhinney sells the city. And then I got all paranoid about the kid that's making my pizza. What's he doing to it? So they'd be like, what's your name? It's Mike Miller, or whatever. So real estate went really well throughout my 20s. I say up until 2009 because I launched my own brokerage. I'd built up to that point where I had a bunch of agents working for me and as a team, and I had a property management company, all these other arms going with it. And it didn't make sense to be under a broker's thumb because we were too big for a brokerage. So I launched my own brokerage, grew it to 100 agents and employees, had offices in a couple locations, and then August 2009 hit, and pardon my French, the shit hit the fan. Everything collapsed. The house of cards collapsed, and it was a really rough time because I went through almost a decade of nonstop success, and I was thinking, wow, this whole success thing's easy, it was a lot of work, but no stumbles. And then August 2009 hit, and that was ripped away from me, and I started up again doing something different with real estate investing and flipping. That didn't work out. 2012, I said, I'm done with real estate. I'd been there, did it, done it, got the t-shirt, I'm done. And I went through a dark period there for a while, and I was helped by several coaches and several mentors. And then that's what led to me starting coaching business early 2014. So I'm in my 5th year now.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
That's
amazing.
A long answer to your question. You're probably like, shut up,
Perfect. No, dude, you know
trying to
it.
cram like 20 years into a quick answer,
When there's a good response from a guest, you just let them run with it, man. It's like, it's good. It's good flow.
It always frustrates me as a podcast host when I say, how are you doing today? Or what do you do? And then it's a 10-minute answer. I could go make a sandwich, get a shower, take a walk around the block, come back, and they're still talking. So I'm very mindful of that as a podcast host. I don't want to be that guest,
Yeah. I love it, man. So this is such a great journey because you had that success early on. What was it like when things did come tumbling down? Like, what did you learn about yourself? What were some of those pearls of wisdom that you pulled forward into coaching other people? Like, how did that give you a brand new mindset or compassion or empathy to really relate with people?
Well, it was an interesting situation because where I'd never experienced any setback, really, any noticeable one, to all of a sudden have everything ripped away from you, where you have all this success, you get the big house and the fancy cars and everything, all of a sudden, bang, you're bankrupt. It's like, you feel like I identified myself very much as a real estate guy. And I don't know if you remember Spider-Man 2 when Tobey Maguire's, Peter Parker loses his powers. He puts his Spider-Man suit in the trash can and stuff. I felt kind of like Spider-Man without Peter Parker without the powers, or Clark Kent without the powers. I'm like, holy jeez, what do I do now? Because that's all I'd done throughout my adult life was real estate. And it did feel like almost, I know this sounds melodramatic, but it felt like the death of a child, because your business is your baby.
Yes.
And it'd been my baby for 10 years. All of a sudden it's gone. It's like, what do I do? It's interesting because looking back at it now, I'm extremely grateful that it happened. It allowed me to develop a thicker skin. I don't get rattled by some guy in his parents' basement, a troll online 1,000 miles away anymore, because I have my local media after my head and a whole bunch of people. So if someone in his parents' basement isn't a big deal. But it also made me more empathetic towards my clients, because I've had the sleepless nights before. I know what it's like when you don't know if you're going to make payroll, and I know what it's like to get attacked and all the other stuff. So I am so grateful that happened. Now, if we were talking in August 2009 and someone said, oh, one day you're going to look back and you'll be very grateful for this, I would say, shut up. I don't want to hear this. Because you hear these cliches, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and all that. So when I talk to people now going through a rough time, I tell them those kind of things, and I can tell that they're thinking, shut up, Mark, because you're doing good now. It's easy for you to say it. But I had those dark periods, and what really saved me was personal development. I mean, reading the Napoleon Hills, and I went on personal development overdrive. I'd always read a lot of personal development self-help books and watched a lot of videos. I just, oh my God, I was over motivated there for a while, but it kept my head in the right place. And the best book I could recommend to anyone going through a rough time, any entrepreneur, but especially going through a rough time, Thick Face, Black Heart by Chin-Ning Chu. Incredible book. It's about resilience and all that other good stuff that you need. So pick up that book and read it. Thick Face, Black Heart.
Awesome. And I'm curious if there was like one thing, and maybe there's not, but if there was one thing that you could see that you could change or that you would have done differently to protect yourself or to set yourself up to keep the business going, would there have been anything that you could have done? Would there have been any precautions, any mindset training with your team to prepare them that it's going to get difficult, but to keep going? Like, is there anything that you could have shifted or done differently?
I could have hired a coach. I'm biased, but I'd been approached by several coaches back when I was riding high in real estate. Me being a cocky 20-something, I'm like, why do I need a coach? Look at me. I don't need a coach. Then now I'm looking back, I'm thinking, wow, I could have probably avoided some mistakes. But to answer your question, it was an interesting situation because it was a perfect storm. It was a combination of I grew too big too fast in 2009. I went from having a team of roughly 15 agents and, a handful of admin staff and stuff like that to where I really blew it up, and our market share just shot up, but it was just too much. I wasn't prepared for that kind of growth. But the other part that led it to being perfect storm is our market completely cooled off at the worst possible time for me. So you went through all your mess in 2008 in the States with the real estate bubble and everything else. It took a while to get up to Canada, but in my market where I was selling in St. John, New Brunswick, every big project that was planned, that billions of dollars planned that were looking by 2008, we're like, this is great. We're going to be mini Calgary's kind of like the oil capital of Canada. We're going to be like Calgary here. And absolutely everything fell through, and the market just completely cooled off, and it hasn't even really recovered here now almost a decade later. So it was an interesting mix of my over aggressiveness, over eagerness, over confidence on the real estate side, along with a really crappy real estate market. Not a good combination. But it's interesting because all those years, the reason I was able to grow so quickly and increase my revenues every year and just grow so much was I wasn't afraid to take risks. I wasn't afraid. I was just grow, right? And very aggressive. So even now I have to remind myself not to get into a little shell and be afraid to grow or be afraid to invest. Like, I'm plunking down a big investment in my business now, and I don't want to feel like, oh, I can't do this because something bad could happen. You have to do that to grow your business. So I regret some of the things that happened. Obviously, I would do things differently, but everybody's usually doing the best that they can with what they know at that time. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback and look back and say, oh, you should have done something differently. When you're in the thick of things, it's a little different.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about this group, Facebook group mentality, and what it takes to build a successful group, because that's what, would you say that has attributed to more of your success or the podcast?
That's an interesting question. The podcast got it going. The group is really the top of my funnel though now. So that's where people first get to know, like, and hopefully trust me. And then they go further with one of my programs or one of my offerings or hiring me. So the podcast was very important in the early days because having a daily show, I always think people should have a daily something, whether if not a podcast, because that's a lot of work, maybe it's a daily Facebook Live or daily emails or what I do now. I've been doing those for about 2 years. So I'm doing daily emails. I'm big on those. But the mentality for the Facebook group was, I'm a big fan of Facebook. I get a lot of business from it. Everyone's news feeds are very full. You know how noisy they are with everyone talking and cat videos and political posts and everything flying around. With a Facebook group, you get like-minded people that are all there in one place. They all have common interest, and you're seen as the leader, as an expert, as an authority that's in there. And that's very important compared to the news feed where everybody's put themselves out as an expert or so. So when you get people into your group and you have a good group and you provide value, that's very powerful. You're usually top of mind when they're looking to hire somebody that does what you do.
So how does one set their group apart from the other groups? Because it seems like a lot of people are starting up their groups now because they see that there's that algorithm, the Facebook algorithm advantage that a group will get with consistently good content. How does someone set apart their group from all the other groups and the newsfeed?
Well, I mean, you have to do some things. First of all, you can't be boring. That's the number one rule with Facebook groups. And unfortunately, a lot of groups are boring. I'm in a number of them. I've been in them, and there's nothing really pulling people there. So anyone that goes to my group, first of all, they know who it's for, that it's for coaches because it's got coaching right in the title. If people can't tell who your group is for by looking at the title of it, or if it's too soft in general, like if it's, you see a lot of these motivational groups that are out there, probably need to narrow their focus a little bit more because there's tons of them out there. It's hard to stand out. If anyone goes into my group, the first thing they see is I'm sure has hurt your eyes many times, is the cartoon banner of me in the Tarzan garb. Marc's cartoon junk flying towards you, my groin. But people could tell right away, okay, well, they like to have fun here. There's a cartoon Marc, and they could tell the theme of it's all kind of jungle theme, our theme days and different things like that. So we have fun with it. So I always tell people to loosen up. Don't take it too serious. The other thing you got to do is you got to be active in there. And unfortunately, a lot of group owners aren't active in a group. And if you're only posting, I'd say even once a day is not enough. I'm posting 3 to 4 times a day in my group. If you're not busy in your own group, then why should anyone else be engaged?
That's true. That's true. So what kinds of content, what kind of engaging activities should we be posting in our groups to get that life going and to get people, wanting to contribute, wanting to go the extra mile in our group?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a number of things. It's good to ask questions. You could do polls with Facebook groups. So polls are important. Facebook groups are the best market research you can have. You got your people sitting right there. Ask them whatever you need to ask them. Besides that, theme days, I do theme days every single day. It's scheduled to go at 8 a.m. Eastern time, so 7 days a week. That gets a conversation going. If I tag people in, if there's a post that's in there, and I know Chris Burns is a great guy to answer this, I'll tag you in. And I'll get you involved in that conversation. I'll answer people's questions. I'll do Facebook Lives. I just did a Facebook Live this week that has 700 and some views on it now.
Wow.
It was like 40 minutes, but I gave really good content in there and good value. So those are some of the things you could do. I mean, you could do joint venture webinars, trainings, bring someone in that can help teach something to your people. You can also monetize that as well. So you just have to be active. And again, I do 3 to 4 posts a day religiously in that group.
Wow, that's awesome. And what if people feel like they don't have enough time, or they're splitting their energy from either doing the group or the podcast or the email list? Like, how do they know where to prioritize? How did you determine that?
Well, I'm really clear on just having a couple legs of the stool. So I don't try to do a million things. I have where I get my business is from podcasting. That's on both sides of the mic, my show, and then also doing things like this. The second way is Facebook, and mostly the Facebook group's a big part of that. And then the third way is doing email marketing, daily emails. So I don't try to do 100 different things. I stay very focused. If I'm doing those 3 things, I know that I'm pretty good. But you could do certain things, get some admin help if you're finding you're not going to have enough time. I had unpaid admins there for a while. I recently hired a VA team, Cody Lardazabal, who's been great. And Cody and his team watch it 24/7, which definitely eases some burden for me there. And they're not really expensive. They're in the Philippines. So any North American VAs watching this will be hissing and saying, oh, you hired someone from the Philippines. But their English is great. The rates are great. They're doing a good job. So
yeah, and I think the big thing is, like, does it fit the culture? As long as they fit the culture, as long as it feels good to have them a part of it, and the other members in the group are like, yeah, Cody's awesome, and all these people are awesome, then it works, and there shouldn't be any judgment about how or where, as long as it fits the culture.
Yeah, exactly. So I have in the past talked to some potential VAs from the Philippines, and the English wasn't good. So I'd say to one of them, we were talking, he said something, I said, oh, cool. And he's like, oh, is it cold there or whatever? I'm like, no, that's not the cool. I mean, it is cold here, but so you got to make sure that there is a little bit of
slang. They understand
the slang stuff that they wouldn't get from North American. But Cody's team has been great helping out. But that being said, I am still in there a lot. It's not like I just say, okay, Cody's got a handle, never pop in. I'm going in probably more than I should be, but I do like to keep a tight rein and see what's going on in there.
Yeah. How in the beginning stages, how did you find balancing your workload and your time management, your priority management? Like, what did that look like, and how have you seen it evolve to now?
Well, my problem's I'm an admitted workaholic, so it probably comes from those real estate years. In real estate, you constantly have your phone up to your ear, you're working on deals, you're showing houses. So you're used to it, and I found this in my real estate days too. If there was a holiday like Christmas where the phone wasn't ringing much, I'd be all jittery because I'm like, oh man, what's going on? Or there'd be that, the phantom ring when you think that your phone's ringing and it's not. That would happen. So I'm recovering from some of the bad habits that come from 10 years of real estate, unfortunately. With coaching, I am getting better letting go of stuff with bringing in a team of VAs and stuff. I went to Mexico recently, and I admit I worked probably an hour a day, maybe 2 on some days, which, just keep my foot in the water. or whatever. For me, I'm not the type of guy, if I went away and just never checked in and left my phone at home and didn't open up my other email, Facebook stuff, it'd be more stressful for me to do it that way. But I'm getting better at night. I'm trying to, it's funny, my brother tries to shut down around 6 o'clock or so. I'm trying to shut down by 9 and then read till bed. And I feel guilty sometimes if it's 9 o'clock and I'm shutting down the laptop. I'm like, I know I should be pushing, but it's a common problem for entrepreneurs. I hear it all the time. There's that guilt for not working.
Yeah. Yeah, we got big goals, big aspirations, and the way to get there is to drive. And there's this mentality of hustle, and you gotta put in the work, you gotta invest. And then there's also this mentality of like self-care, which has been huge. Self-care, taking care of ourselves. So how has that been showing up for you, that self-care and, the balance of hustling and then taking care of yourself?
Well, there's two extremes, right? One extreme, you've got Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, who's nuts. Every time I love the 10X rule. I listen to the audio version, but I feel guilty if I'm getting a shower, if I'm not working in the shower, because he's like, you got to work and hustle and grind and all this stuff. The one extreme's Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, and all the people talk about hustle, work 24/7. And then you got the Tim Ferriss fanboys that, oh no, you can do it in 4 hours a week or whatever, and lay on the beach with drinking girly drinks and refreshing your bank account. So I definitely lean towards Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk, but I'm trying to pull more this way because my business, a very important part of it's content creation. If I'm burnt out and stressed out, my content creation is going to suffer. And I churn out a lot of content. I'm working on my first real book. I have an ebook and stuff, but I'm working on my first real book now. If I'm burnt out, that book's not going to get finished or whatever. So I'm getting better at forcing myself to step away and say, no, you got to step away. But for me, even if I get an hour or two away, that's a perfect refresher often. If it's supper time and I take an hour or two to have a bite to eat and watch a show I recorded on TV, then I'm like, man, I want to get going again. Let's go.
Awesome. I love it. So you mentioned content creation. How do you structure your content creation? What does that time and priority management look like?
Well, I batch my stuff. So I'm sure people have talked about batching here on your show, but batching, for anyone who doesn't know, is just setting aside a block of time to do one specific task. So, for example, my Fridays, I don't book calls on my Fridays. They're heavy content creation days. I'll often get a week's worth of emails for my daily emails done on Friday and scheduled out for the next week, just to give me that breathing room. So batching is very important. If I didn't do batching, it'd be very difficult to do it. I'm not the type that every morning, 15 minutes before the email's set to go out, I want to open up the laptop, try to come up with something. I want to make sure that it's ready. I'm not going to be 2 months ahead, but I want to be at least a week ahead to give myself breathing room. But that's important for content creation. And where I get my ideas, I get them from, Facebook groups are a great way. You see what people are talking about there. Media, you go into blogs, news sites. If I'm ever stuck on an idea, I go to CNN.com, and I know it's fake news, but hey, you can get some story ideas there. And one day I was stumped for an idea, and I went on to CNN or one of those sites, and there's a story about Warren Sapp, the former NFL player. He was diving in Florida, and a shark took a bite out of him. It's gross to show the picture and stuff. That turned into an email for content. Wow. And then often I'll put my content around in different places. So my daily emails get copied over to my blog, which Google loves, for Google juice and stuff. And then I'll often put that on social media as well there too. So a lot of people think you have to come up with unique content for every single different platform. You can cross-post in different places.
Have you done that with your Facebook group as well? Have you taken stuff that you wrote on a blog post or an email and put it on there, or do you find that those are usually separate? How does that work?
Every day. Well, 95% of my daily emails go into the Facebook group. Wow. And they go into my personal Facebook as well. And some people might think, well, gee, what if someone's on your email list and then they're going to see it in the email, they're going to see it in the group, they're going to get pissed off at you. But you got to remember that people aren't seeing everything. There's so much going on. It's not like they're, and if they do, it's no big deal because other people do it. I'm on people's lists and I see their stuff on Facebook. I don't mind. Hey, it's reinforcing it. It's no big deal. So I like to, my goal with content creation is I want people to not be able to turn around without seeing Marc Mawhinney somewhere. So I always say, I want, if Chris Burns closing his eyes at night and for bed, he sees me there standing by the bed in a non-creepy way, But I liken it to a casino. Here's a perfect example. I was at the casino last summer and went to the cashier cage to get it wasn't a huge jackpot, it wasn't $1 million or whatever, but get a little bit of money when I was leaving. And the way they structure the casinos is they make it as difficult as possible once you cash out to get the heck out of there. So they have the rows of slot machines. Like, it's not a straight line to the door, right? Like, they're sneaky buggers. They don't have windows to the outside. There's no clocks. They do all these things to trick you and try to keep in. But it's like a mouse trying to get out of a maze. They go and buy all these cool slot machines. Like, oh, there's a Walking Dead. There's a Betty White slot machine. I'm like, hey, that's cool, or whatever. I'm like, no, I want my money. I'm leaving. And that's how I want it to be with content creation. People can't turn around without me being, oh, here I am. Oh, here I am. You're not leaving my world yet. Pay me.
I love it. How do you determine like the length of the content? Because I know some people might say, do I just create like a one single paragraph? Do I need to make it 10 pages long? How do you determine the length of your content pieces?
Well, I don't know if there's any right answer. My goal with my content is I want to entertain. It's not about teaching. A lot of people think they have to teach. They have to have these huge 2,000 word posts that teach all this stuff. Those things are for paying clients. People who are investing in my services, if they're my clients or if they're in my print newsletter, they're paying $97 a month. That stuff is that stuff is exclusive. It's not things that my Facebook posts or my emails or whatever. I just throw them in a paid newsletter. That content's exclusive content. But I say, you ask yourself, how would I feel if I were in the market? If I was a prospect, would it be worth my time reading this? And you make it entertaining. You can help. Don't get me wrong. You want to help people and you can teach a lesson or whatever. But too many coaches and people online think that you have to give away everything for free. And there's a free line that is very thin line. You got to be careful with it. You could go too far the other way, which I'm seeing mostly new coaches do. They think, okay, I'll just give everything for free. And then they get frustrated. So you have to give enough that you give value. The way I always say it, that people, even if they don't buy from me, they're going to get help. They're going to learn from my stuff, but they're going to have to take the next step to get me or to get the other stuff. They can't get everything for free. How did you
notice whether people responded or not, whether people opened emails or not, whether people are liking and engaging on groups or not? How did you use that to determine what kind of content you produce? And did you have like a system for reviewing and analyzing the engagement and how much people actually like the content?
Not really, because I think there's a danger if you're pandering to people and trying to game the system, which I see people do all the time, then you're not being yourself. You're just trying to copy. Like, you see these people like, hey, buy my system, guaranteed, great engagement. All you have to do, just plug and play, just put it in. And I don't like to do that. So it's kind of like the people that write the best books, TV shows, movies. It's almost like an art or a craft, and they're putting it out there unapologetically, not just trying to twist it so that it's something that they think people want to hear. And then they'll draw the right people to them. Sometimes I'll put a post out that I think is amazing, and it's going to get hundreds of likes on Facebook, and there's 10 people like it. My brother's one of them, and probably my mother out of there. So, and then other times I'll slap up something because I'm like, yeah, I should get something on there, and I whip out the phone. And it literally once I threw out, this happened. It was afternoon, and I sent out I hadn't been as active as usual. I said I should get posts on Facebook, and I said literally everybody should have a coach number, just saying. Which was like a stupid hashtag. 6 words, right? You wouldn't think it'd be much. I got like 200 people liking it.
Wow.
So compared to the one you spend like an hour, like, whew, you're like, this is going to be awesome. The meaning of life, and then it's crickets. So I say don't overthink it. Just whip out the phone, put it out there. There's way too many perfectionists online. I actually did a podcast episode today about perfectionism. It's frustrating for me when I'm working with a coach and they have to get a quick lead magnet out there that should take a couple hours tops, and they want to take months to do it. And it's like, come on, you can't do that. You just got to get it out there.
What do you think people are afraid of with their perfectionism?
Well, they're afraid of rejection and failure ultimately. So it's easier to work on your PDF or to work on work on your website banner instead of actually talking to people and making offers and hearing no's. So whenever I see that, I know there's some fear of rejection here. They are perfectionists, but I think that's what it's rooted in, that they don't want to get rejected. They don't want to hear no. They don't want to feel bad about it. So it's easier to, feel like I'm staying busy by working on my website or working on my flyer or my business cards, but that's not going to get you clients. Ultimately, you got to get out there talking to people.
Yeah. So what do you find is the best way to get people from just liking a comment or liking a post, liking our content, to becoming a client? Like, what does that take? What's that process?
Well, you have to accept first that there's some people that just aren't ready, regardless of how good of a salesman you are. If you could sell ice to the Eskimos, it's not going to matter. Is Eskimos politically correct nowadays? I don't know. Maybe it is. Whatever the politically correct term is, iced Eskimos will say. A lot of people just aren't ready. So what you have to, if you're getting that consistent content out there, people will stalk you. I've had people that I didn't know who they were, and they're like, hey, I've been following your stuff for 2 years, Mark, or I've been following your stuff for 6 months, and now I'm ready. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Wow.
So there's certain things that you can do. I think that you have to make compelling offers. What I do often I go for the sale. I don't nurture. You ever hear the nurturing stuff where people say with your emails, oh, you don't sell till 50 emails or 60 emails, then you start offering a solution. I'm like, screw that right away. Now, it's not a heavy sell, arm twisting thing, but my emails, for example, will give a lesson, give something valuable, entertaining for them. And then towards the end, it'll say, by the way, I talk more about this in the next month's issue of my Secret Coach Club print newsletter. Hop on over to the link to check it out. That's all it is. It's something like that. But a lot of people are afraid of offering. And I say you have to ABO, always be offering. A lot of people online aren't inviting people to take the next step. So they're doing things like they're posting 10 Facebook posts a day. They're motivational quotes and images, but they're Tony Robbins quotes, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Oprah Winfrey. People can get that on Google. They can get it anywhere. So I love motivational quotes, don't get me wrong, but I think you're better to put your own message out there and invite people to show how they can take the next step to get more help from you.
Do you feel like there's a best next step? Is it, every coach is at a different place. They might have different content, different lead magnets, different offers and stuff. But do you find that there's one that you've seen work the best for coaches?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I always say play to your strengths when it comes to lead magnets. So if you hate video, don't do video lead magnets, right? If you hate writing, don't do some things I talked about, because like daily emails and reports and all that stuff. One thing I will say, which I find works really well, and a lot of coaches aren't doing it, I think they should be, is to have a group program in addition to the one-on-one. So a lot of coaches have just a one-on-one, but then if somebody, let's say, can't swing the one-on-one, they're not ready for that investment, oh, well, I can't work with you. If you have the group program that's 50% the investment of your one-on-one, my groups have maximum 6 people in it. We meet 12 weeks, an hour a week on Zoom. If somebody's not ready to commit for the one-on-one, because I'm not the cheapest guy out there, I can say, hey, look, I got to wait for you to get my help. It's only half of the investment of one-on-one. Would you like to hear about it? And most people say, yeah, sure, let's hear about it. And then you get them into the group program. I'm a bigger fan of, especially in the early days, getting one-on-one and group programs set up, as opposed to what most coaches do. These brand new coaches want to make money while they sleep, right? And there's a saying, before you make money while you sleep, you got to be able to make money while you're awake. Yes. And they just want to have the online programs and not have to talk to anybody, right? Just refresh your bank account. There's time for the online programs, but your online programs and other stuff will be better the more people you work with one-on-one and group. You could take the experiences from that and the lessons learned and all that stuff and put it into your online programs. But they're kind of going backwards. They're doing online programs, trying to sell these $300, $500 online programs. And then they don't have any clients and they don't have any money and they get frustrated. And it's the wrong way to do it. I would rather see a new coach start with actually coaching and then add those things onto it.
Yeah. What do you find helps break people through their fears of selling and talking one-on-one to other people the best? What gets people to the other side? What gets people to like start converting and turn around from not being successful or not as successful as they'd like to, less momentum to more momentum? What does that usually take?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. First of all, you have to get rid of any attachment you have. You got to be detached with the outcome. So I know it's tough if you want to make money and get the revenue coming in. You're like, oh man, I need this client. I've got my car payment coming up or my mortgage or whatever. Right. When I stopped caring if I got the client or not, don't get me wrong, I want to get the client, but I would say, you know what? If it doesn't work out, they don't want to work with me, or it's not the right time, there'll be other ones. Yeah. Then my conversions went way up because they can sense if you're desperate, if you're needy. They have spidey senses, right? They can. Another Spider-Man reference. They could pick up on that. So first of all, be detached, but you also have to have a steady flow of leads. If you're not getting out there doing things like with lead magnets and other stuff, you may only have that one call and no other ones on the horizon. So you're like holding on to it. Oh my God, I need this person. Me, I don't get attached to my discovery calls, my sales calls, because I know I've got 5 more coming up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So it's no big deal if I don't get it. The final thing which really helps, which I was glad when I brought in, is to have some sort of application form or hurdle for people before they book a call with you. So not saying that should be something that takes someone 20 minutes to fill out, but at least have a few questions to show that they're serious. Mm-hmm. And if anyone wants to check out mine, see how many questions I have, it's naturalborncoaches.com/call, CALL. You'll see kind of how I do it. Yeah, I use Ninja Forms for WordPress, and it works great. There's a few questions there that are designed to weed out the tire kickers and to see how motivated people are. And I turn down some calls. One of the questions is, how much are you prepared to invest to solve this challenge? Because the question before asked what their issue was. Mm-hmm. And it'll be $0, and then the other amounts correspond to what I have to offer. If they have $0, I'm not going to do the call. I know it sounds harsh, but I'm not wasting anyone's time. Someone answered just last week, filled one out, and they had $100 a month. That's not going to fit for my coaching, even my group. So what I answered him back, said, hey, look, it looks like, your budget right now doesn't fit what I have for my coaching offerings. However, I have a print newsletter, Secret Coach Club, $97 a month. It looks like it fits what you have, and I think it would really help. Here's the details. And I didn't book the call, just sent him that way.
In addition to group coaching programs, is there anything that you can think of that would be a good membership type of model for people who like do you think it's even worth it for these newer coaches or coaches who are getting started to invest in something like that, to invest in all 3 levels, the one-on-one, the group, and the kind of like mass group level?
Well, I'm kind of unique that way because I'm all about the print newsletter, which sounds very 1980s. Sounds very Stone Ages, right? I got a bunch of stone tablets out in the garage, and I just chip away, and then I get the dinosaurs to haul them to wherever they're going. So I should explain, when I say print newsletter, with mine, there's no digital copies. If someone says, hey, can I also get a digital copy? No, I don't share it because I don't want to get it sent around to people who haven't paid for it. Right. I know that people will take it seriously. If it's a print newsletter, they get it once a month right to their door. Yep. They're telling me, hey, I'm highlighting it, Mark. I'm going through it a couple times through the month. I'm implementing the stuff more so than if it was just lost on their desktop on their computer. So for mine, I have a print newsletter, and it's very simple. I don't get into Facebook groups with that and membership forums, everything else. It's a print newsletter that they get every month. They get access to Pick My Brain by email. That's a perk for people. I tell them, don't email me 10 times a day, please, but they haven't abused it. And then the third one is live calls. So I have an expert like yourself in once a month. We'll focus on a theme and a live call just for subscribers. And that's all I offer with it. So unfortunately, a lot of people want to jump in and have the membership site for $19 or $10 or $25. And they're attracting these people who aren't as serious, the freebie seekers or cheap discount hunters. And then you get all this back end stuff. You got to manage a membership community. And I always remember the example, Ben Settle. I've learned a lot from Ben when it comes to email marketing. And Ben, a few summers ago, launched his El Bembo's Apprentice membership site. And he blew the roof off it with a number of, I think he had 800 and some subscribers in the first week. And it was only like $7 a month if you got in as a early bird. And then it was going to be 17 a month. So super cheap, right? he discontinued it after a week. And he's very clear. He said, because he said those people were essentially a pain in the ass because they're paying a few bucks and they thought, I own you. I'm giving you $7 a month, you know.
Wow.
And he has his email players print newsletter, which I'm a subscriber of, for $97. He said he doesn't get any flack from those people, the $100 a month. The $7 a month were just like annoying him. So I don't know. Some people disagree with me. I know like Stu McLaren's big on membership sites and he's got a good thing going with Tribe and stuff like that. There's ways to make it work. I'm not a fan of the cheap amount, like where you can get in for $1 or $20. I don't want to deal with it. It's too much headache. I would rather stick with mine. I mean, as we're recording this, I'm at about 50 subscribers and maybe a few more than that. I want to get it to 100 by the end of this year. I'm happy with that. I don't want to have 1,000 paying me $5 a month.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, that's powerful, man. You mentioned some cool people that you're following and working with. How have you taken relationship building? How have you approached that in the online space, especially like not being able to like meet people in person very often, depending on where they're at in the world? How has that worked out for you?
This probably isn't what you're going to want to hear because I'm a people person. I like people. What I don't like is I don't like the getting to know you calls. And a lot of people do like them. I get people reach out to me multiple times a day. People will message me, hey, Marc, thanks for connecting, or I saw your podcast, whatever. I'd love to hop on Skype and have a virtual coffee. I'm like, I don't do those. My first year, I did probably 300 of them. I was doing at least every day. I was doing them, and sometimes multiple a day. Yeah. And I got very little business from it. So even now, when I'm sometimes going on podcasts and people say, well, let's do a pre-chat first and get to know each other and all this stuff. And I don't really have the time for it. If you did all that. So relationship building is good. Don't get me wrong. Like you and I, you were on my podcast. We chatted after the show and we've chatted before stuff, but we talked about other things we could do like this. But I don't want to be bugging you every week and say, hey, Chris, let's hop on and have virtual coffee. We're both too busy for it. And I think, unfortunately, online, some people are taking that approach a little too much where, hey, let's connect for virtual. And they talk about kids and weather and stuff for an hour. And they should be talking to more potential clients. So the calls I make with that I take that are like that now are very serious joint venture, for example, where we could do affiliate stuff, kind of high level partners. But I just can't talk to every Tom, Dick, or Harry that reaches out that hears the podcast. There's just not enough hours. And I know a lot of people say, oh my God, he's Hitler for that approach or whatever, but you got to be like that. Your time is money.
Yes. Yes. How do you respond to the people who want to have your time? Do you say, well, you have a couple different options to work with me or get to know me? Like, how does that work in a political way that has them say, oh man, he's like protecting his time. Like does it create more desire for them to want to spend time with you?
Well, I think it's here's one thing you could do. If someone reaches out with a vague thing, like I'm sure you've heard this, like, hey, Chris, how's it going? I had something I think you'll be interested in. I'd love to chat.
No.
Then you got to read them. No. We got to read their mind. So what I did, I learned this from my friend David Ralph, Join Up Dots, is whenever someone reach out like that, you say, hey, great, can you send me an email at marc@naturalborncoaches.com and let me know what this call is about, which it flushes them out really quickly. If it's going to be a sales pitch, then you're going to find out. And a lot of times people won't do that because it was going to be a sales pitch. Or it's like, yeah, well, I want to talk to you about Bitcoin. It's really hot now. I'm like, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. I don't want to hear about Bitcoin. Or stuff like that. So that's one way to do it, is ask them to email you, which will tell you who's serious, or send them to an application form like I was mentioning on my website. Or I know one of my clients, Nancy, she's a coach. She started charging for calls. She said, great, I charge $97. Yeah, here's my PayPal with it. And she gives good value in that time. But then you'll hear people say, well, no, I didn't want to pay. I just wanted to pick your brain for a minute. Right. Sorry. No. Brain. And whenever I hear the words brain picking, when somebody sends me a message that, hey, can I pick your brain? Right away, I just like that just turns me right off. Like, can't stand. For a while there, probably 4 years ago, I felt like a French fry on a beach with a bunch of seagulls swooping down and trying to pull at me in their beak, because everybody was coming at me just from the podcast and from social media and stuff. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So now I'm a little too far the other way. You talk about relationship building. Some people say, oh, he's a meanie. That's not what it's about or whatever, but you got to do that. I'm unapologetic when it comes to my time. I don't mind doing something like this. This what we're doing is very high value, and I will do this as much as possible. But if I was doing all those brain picking virtual coffee calls, I wouldn't have time for calls like this.
Wow, that's powerful, man. So any last minute tips or wisdom that you've picked up along the journey that you feel like really made a difference for you, or that you just keep seeing these coaches or influencers making this mistake? Anything else you can give us?
Well, everyone's probably like, wow, I thought Canadians were nice. And here I am like, don't build relationships, charge for your time. Well, I think it goes back to what we're talking about with procrastination. Stop trying to worry about everything being so perfect, because while you're fiddling around trying to make something a 10 out of 10, someone's launching something that's a 7 or an 8 out of 10, and then they're working on improving it, but it's launched. And they're making money, they're getting clients, they're helping people. And that's an important point I'll end with. When it comes to things like my online programs and stuff, if I can get it to about an 8 out of 10, I launch it. Then I'll work on improving it as time goes on. 10 out of 10, you're never going to, nothing will get to a 10 out of 10 regardless of how much you polish it. And you shouldn't be shooting for that or delaying things. I know some people who were looking at launching their podcast and or coaching business when I started in early 2014 that still haven't fully launched. And we're in 2018. I'm like, sorry, it should not take 4 years to do that. So don't try to be a perfectionist. Just get out there, take action, make mistakes, learn from them. You'll be better off that way.
Beautiful. So you said you're also writing a book right now. What's going to be in this book coming up?
Interestingly, what we talked about with being careful, protecting your time and stuff. But basically, the book is what I found through the last 4+ years of helping coaches get more clients and grow their businesses is a lot of the same things pop up, regardless of which coach and what niche you're in or so on. So it's essentially the book that I wish that I had when I started out as a coach. It's what I've learned from work with hundreds of coaches and working with a lot more when it comes to customers and stuff that bought online programs, putting into one package into the book that I could give people. And it's ideal for people who maybe don't know me. They're not prepared to invest, save for one-on-one or whatever. Great. Buy my book. You'll get a lot of help there. Good luck, and let me know if I can help. So it's going to cover everything from starting your coaching business. How do you choose your niche, your package, your offerings, choose your pricing, all that fun stuff.
How do you see yourself differentiating in a marketplace where there's a lot of people releasing books, coming out with their own ebooks, stuff like that? How do you see yourself setting yourself apart?
Well, part of it is I say in the book, I'm taking the Bulworth approach. Do you know that movie, Bulworth, Warren Beatty? Essentially, Warren Beatty's a California senator running for re-election, and he decides he wants to commit suicide he wants to die so he can get his insurance money to his kids. He can't commit suicide or avoids the insurance policy, so he hires a sniper to kill him while he's on the campaign trail the last weekend of the year, the election. So he figures, well, I'm going to get killed by a sniper. I might as well just tell the truth and not bullshit like most politicians. So I'll just speak my mind. And so sure enough, he starts rising in the polls and like becoming like a big sensation, because he's like, oh my God, a politician's actually speaking the truth. There's no spin, no filter. And then he doesn't want to die, and he's trying to get away from the assassin and all this stuff. I took the Bulworth approach with the book, and I think that's what differentiates it, where I'm not just BS. It's not this make 7 figures in a month working 5 minutes a day from the comfort of your hot tub, or these people that are, the Ty Lopez mansions and the rented yachts and boats and all that stuff. It's like, no, I'm very upfront. This is a lot of work. If you're not prepared to put the work into it, it's not going to work. But I'm really proud of it. I'm almost done the first draft, and I didn't hold back. I just said, I'm going to talk as if I was sitting down in front of the reader. And the way I did it was I said, I'm assuming that the reader's success, my success is tied to the reader's success. If the reader knocks it out of the park, becomes a successful coach, I get everything I want, money, fame, everything in the world. And if the reader fails, then I lose everything I have.
Wow.
So that's how I'm writing the book. And that's the approach I took.
That's a great frame to take. You know, if you want to put yourself in a powerful, like, how do I get the most out of this? It's to set an outcome of what is going to happen at the end of reading this book. If the reader, you know, achieves all their success that they desire and more, then I get everything that I want. If they don't, then I lose everything. So it's like, oh my God, it's at stake. Listen here, you know, it's like you just come in with a more just, hey, we're getting this thing
Well, that's
done.
an important point too, because there's a lot of coaches in our world that have mindset blocks around money, and they would think, oh my God, Marc admits that he wants to make a lot of money and he loves money. And they think you should be coaching barefoot in some village overseas, or you're like Mother Teresa or something like that. If you're afraid of money and there's those blocks, good luck. You're just not going to charge what you should be charging. You're not going to make it. So I always say to coaches, you should be brazenly admitting that you like money, because the more money you make, you're helping more people. It's win-win. Money makes the world go round, but everyone thinks that you're Gordon Gekko or J.R. Ewing or Scrooge if you say that you like money. But you know they all do anyways, though, right? Like even the ones that are the, hey, lovelies, let's manifest, you know, law of attraction stuff and things. They're the greediest ones. Just they're covering it in the nice frilly language and the, you know, the pink stuff and everything else. They're greedier than me.
That word, lovelies. Hey, lovelies. I just like
hey,
clear
beautiful.
picture
hey,
of who
hey,
you're talking about.
Hey, darling. You go on a website, it's like, hey, darling, what you doing? You know. Shoot rainbows out of our behinds and manifest our dreams, girlfriends.
And by the way, it's 10 grand.
Yeah, that's right. Pay me 10 grand. I won't start working with you till you pay. And yeah.
I love it. Money is good, ladies and gentlemen, 100%. And Marc, this has been a blast, man. We covered a lot of different topics, Facebook groups, emailing every day. We talked about being fearless, taking action right now, 8 out of 10, getting it done, getting it across the finish line. So thank you so much, man. And how do people stay connected with you? What do you want them to do next?
Well, darlings, you go to naturalborncoaches.com is the main site, or you can go to thecoachingjungle.com is a Facebook group. You'll find me there. I'm in there all the time and would love to have you.
Awesome, man. Marc, you're doing amazing things for the world. I'm excited to see how your journey evolves even more. You're doing incredible things for coaches, giving them hope, giving them a place to call home and a tribe. And the Coaching Jungle is amazing. I highly recommend everyone join it to go figure out, you know, how to grow your coaching business, be around other like-minded coaches, and be around Marc. He's a great teacher, great leader, lots of fun, very unique personality, not just another Me Too, which I think people are looking for that personality. So if you like his style of humor, if you like who he is and how he showed up on this interview, definitely give him a follow. Go to naturalborncoaches.com or thecoachingjungle.com and stay connected with him. Marc, thank you, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for all that you do.
Absolutely, brother. We'll see you soon, okay?
Cheers.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.